today by Kaitlyn Bernard, the star of Surviving My Father, the Rachel Jeffs story. Thanks for joining us today, and how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. So, I watched the film the other day. I have to say I did had an amazing performance. It's a very intense piece of television.
Mhm.
How did you feel going into a production that touched on such sensitive material?
I had heard of Warren Jeffs before I had ever read the script or got the audition because of the FBI's Most Wanted list. And my dad was actually talking about him recently. And when I had no idea about Rachel's story, and when I started researching her story and watching her interviews and reading her memoir, I was just completely floored by the amount of trauma and all of the things that she went through at such a young age and the ability that she had to really come through that and rewrite her story. And like, this story is a story of manipulation and trauma and all of these terrible things, but it's also a story about survival.
Mhm.
So I was really compelled when I read the script and looked more into her story. And it is always challenging when you're playing a real life person. This is my first time playing someone who, as this is actually their story and what they went through.
Mhm.
um so it was intense and it was very nerve wracking, because I wanted to do her story justice and tell it the way that it was supposed to be told.
Great. Did you get a chance to talk to her at all, or reach out to speak with her before filming?
Yeah, so we actually, Ali, our director, and our producer Amelia, we had a Zoom call with Rachel the day before we started filming, and it was a very, very emotional call. When she talks about her traumas, she has this kind of like quiet strength to her, and that was something that I really
Mhm.
wanted to bring into the performance. But yeah, it was very, very emotional. All of us were left in tears after talking to her, and she's just such the epitome of like a kind, caring, considerate person. She's exactly how she is in her interviews. So
Uh-huh.
it was really a really beautiful experience being able to speak to her prior to filming.
Um, and one of the things that I found really powerful was even through all of the tragedy and abuse, she maintained her faith throughout that entire process. Like, what do you feel, and you were trying to personify that, was the core of that sort of belief and kindness that sort of helped her get through it?
Well, I think a big turning point in the film is when she her children are getting taken away from her again, and
Mhm.
she puts a lot of faith into her children. And um even when you look on her social media, I mean, her family is such a huge, huge part of her life. And I think it's so challenging when we get into these situations, especially how she was in this Mormon sect, and religion was just drilled into her in a way that was terrifying, but her ability to maintain faith throughout and see that light at the tunnel is incredibly inspiring. And I'm not a huge religious person myself, but
Mhm.
I have a friend who's a Hutterite, and he escaped his colony, and faith was such a huge part of how he got through it, despite faith being a negative thing that he grew up with as a way of
Yeah.
manipulation. So in just talking to him and watching Rachel's interviews, I was really able to kind of get a glimpse into what that world looks like.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can't even begin to comprehend the stuff and the things that she went through, but yeah, it's really beautiful to see someone who has struggled kind of come through on the other end, and like I said, rewrite her own story.
Yeah. Now, Rachel's relationship with her sister Becky is very close,
Mhm.
and their support for one another through their struggles. Did you and Britt sort of bond over the course of filming, and find a similar relationship?
Yeah, so Britt actually played my mother. So she just brought this like warmth to set that, I mean, when we're dealing with such sensitive material, you always want you're always hoping that the cast and crew are going to be really kind of sensitive and aware to what's going on. And I think um, having Brit there on set just kind of made that experience just feel safer, because we are diving into such dark topics.
Mhm.
And so it's great to have someone there. And then Elise plays Becky, and we clicked immediately. It was one of those moments where as soon as we met each other on set, we were like instantly besties. So yeah, I absolutely adore Elise.
Mhm.
And it was really nice to kind of have that connection with her. And then even with Michael, I mean, Michael is terrifying on screen and during the scenes, but off screen, he's like one of the kindest human beings ever. So
Yeah.
just overall, I was just so happy that the cast ended up being so supporting and just great to work with. I have like literally no bad things to say about anyone. It was such an amazing set to be on.
Yeah. Now, and I believe it's Amara Sanoy who plays the young Rachel.
Yeah.
Uh, she was incredible in it as well. She just brought like a presence to the screen. Did you get to sort of speak with her at all prior to her performance?
Yes, obviously we never had any scenes together, but whenever she was filming something or I was like coming off, we would hang out a little bit in the green room, play cards. We would talk about Labubus because that was what was trending at the time. So we were able to kind of connect, and she was so sweet and incredible, an incredible performer. So we're super fortunate to have her on there as well.
Now, one of the things that I find um, very sort of powerful about this story is it is very much a topic of intergenerational trauma. Like Rachel is inheriting this pain that her mother experienced before her, and she's able to sort of break that cycle.
Mhm.
Um, how do you think like these groups can sort of exist so openly, and what do you think people like Rachel breaking free of these groups and being able to tell these stories is able to do for maybe somebody who sees this, who's out there in a similar situation?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and I think um, the thing that I always come back to is like, well, Rachel's story is super unique. I mean, it's a story that highlights trauma and manipulation and all of these kind of dark things, like you said, intergenerational trauma being a huge one. Um, but I really hope that this story kind of inspires people, um,
Mhm.
but also sheds light on the polygamous sex and how this is still a thing that is going on, because it was something that I had no awareness
Mm.
until I started doing research. And so I again, like I can't stress this enough. This is a story about resilience. It's not just
Yeah.
about survival. It's about resilience and coming out and really rewriting your own story. So I hope that people are inspired in watching it and just see the strength and the perseverance within Rachel's story, because it is a very unique, inspiring piece.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things in your portrayal of Rachel and in her story. She always put others before herself. Like there was a true sense of sacrifice when it came to protecting her children and protecting her extended family. It was very inspiring to see, and I felt you really captured that really amazingly. Um, Now, what sort of did you draw from to sort of find that sort of sense? Like, it just feels very palpable watching that sense of charity and sense of kindness. Like, how did you sort of draw from yourself to bring that to screen?
That's a really good question. I think it's always like a combination of different things. When I'm acting, it's never like one kind of experience that I'll bring in. It's a combination of stuff that I've kind of accumulated throughout my lifetime. Um,
Mhm.
and I think it's really a love for like I'm really close with my family and I'm really close with my sister, and so just kind of like putting myself in those situations, which is it's so hard to do because I couldn't even begin to imagine being in that situation. um,
Mhm.
but just really thinking about if my family was in a similar situation. And like I said, I have a friend who comes from a Hutterite community, and just hearing all of the stories and the stuff that he has been through, I think was another kind of flavor and element that was added in, because it's so terrifying, the things that these people go through at such a young age, and that's so normalized, and that's all they really
Mhm.
know. And the strength that it takes people like Rachel or my friend to really break free, is, yeah, tremendous.
So how did you sort of shake this off after the end of it? Because there's a lot of heavy scenes. I mean, even the scene where you're playing the violin early on, and the way that you know Warren Jeffs just interacts with you and like takes the violin, and so heavy. Like, how did you sort of let it go at the end of the day? Was there anything that you did to sort of cleanse yourself of that energy, or?
Yeah, I think that like all actors kind of have different processes. When I'm in a scene, I'm kind of in it, and then uh, I'll like kind of sit by myself, have my AirPods in, and just kind of do my own thing. But when like we're in between scenes or there's a big setup, I will usually interact with the other cast members, especially this one. This is such a great cast. We had so much fun. Um, but yeah, I mean, like when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I kind of have a ritual where I'll take a shower, I'll read, kind of go back to my normal life,
Mm.
and then whenever I finish a project, I usually go stay somewhere for a couple of days. I went up to Nelson, BC with my partner, and
Nice.
yeah, just kind of decompressed, turned the phones off, played some cards, lots of board games. So yeah, that's kind of my process.
Yeah. Did you have any sort of fun experiences with the cast or anything while filming?
Yeah, we played a lot of card games when we were filming as well. I mentioned the Labubu. I had a Labubu, and
Mm.
some of the cast made a short film while we were filming a scene of the Labubu. So there was like, yeah, just like random stuff kind of going on behind the scenes, I guess. But yeah, overall, I was just really happy to work with such a supportive and amazing cast.
Now you mentioned going to Vernon, was it?
Nelson, close.
Yeah, sorry, close. Yeah, and I believe this was filmed in Kelowna, correct? Yeah,
Yeah.
I only know because I have family and I've visited there a couple of times. So I'm like, there's a scene where it's said like I'm like I've swum there before.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so there's some really beautiful sort of nature and landscape around there. Do you get some time to enjoy any of that? Uh,
Somewhat. I've shot quite a few things in Kelowna, and I absolutely love filming there. I think this one, usually on the weekends, I kind of just be like reclusive and like in my bed, like reading my script or like reading a book. I didn't get a lot of time to just go out and explore. Um,
mhm.
but I mean, it's so beautiful. There's so many wineries. I've spent a lot of time in Penticton. I saw a show in Penticton. Um, and yeah, I don't know. There's just so many cool places to go. There's like a kangaroo farm in Kelowna.
Yes.
Um,
Uh,
for
yeah,
rent.
my niece and my wife wanted me to go to there last time we were visiting, but it was closed because they also have capybaras there.
Yeah.
And there's a capybara named Leonardo de Capybara, and they
Oh my
really wanted me to meet the capybara.
God,
And I was like,
that's hilarious. That's
yeah. I was very disappointed when it was closed. I was very disappointed. So
I feel like there might have been something with it being closed when I was there, and that's why we didn't go. We went cherry picking. That was another thing that I did.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so beautiful. Whenever I'm in the Okanagan, I'm just like, oh, I could live here. It's gorgeous.
When we visited, I was very tempted to move out of Toronto. I was like, oh, this would be such a nice
I
pace change.
know.
That's for sure.
Yeah, no kidding.
Great. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us today, and looking forward to everybody seeing Surviving My Father, the Rachel Jeff story.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.